Imagine waking up in a city where social media is blacked out, soldiers patrol the streets, and a prime minister has just resigned. That's not a scene from a dystopian movie. It's what's happening right now in Nepal. For many Americans, Nepal is known for its stunning Himalayan peaks and as the gateway to Mount Everest. But for Nepali Gen Z, it's become the epicenter of a movement against corruption and political dysfunction. Over the past week, protests have spiraled into the country's most intense unrest in decades, leaving dozens dead and raising urgent questions about the nation's future. So, how did things escalate this far? The spark was a government decision to ban 26 social media platforms, including Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook. Officials said it was to maintain order, but for a generation that organizes, socializes, and expresses itself online, this was like cutting off their oxygen. The ban only lasted a few days, but by then, the anger had already boiled over. Young people who were already frustrated with years of corruption and political stagnation poured into the streets, demanding accountability and real change. What makes this movement different is its leadership. Gen Z in Nepal, students, young professionals, even teenagers, are front and center. They've grown up watching political leaders make promises but fail to deliver. Many say they're tired of nepotism, where politicians, children flaunt privilege while average citizens struggle. A viral Nepo Kid campaign online spotlighted this inequality and became a rallying cry. When the social media blackout hit, it felt like an attempt to silence them, and that pushed things past a breaking point. But peaceful protests quickly turned chaotic. After security forces fired live rounds, killing at least 19 demonstrators on the first day, the situation exploded. By the next 48 hours, violence had escalated across Kathmandu and other cities. Crowds set fire to government buildings, including the parliament, and vandalized the homes of top politicians. Even the Supreme Court building was damaged so severely that hearings had to be postponed. In the chaos, thousands of prisoners escaped, adding another layer of instability. Despite the destruction, many Gen Z activists insist the violence wasn't their doing. They claim their peaceful movement was hijacked by opportunists, people using the unrest to loot, burn, and settle scores. The army echoes this view, saying it's trying to contain criminal elements rather than suppress genuine protest. On the ground, some young people have even been volunteering to clean up damaged areas, showing that their vision is about reform, not destruction. The human toll, however, is undeniable. More than 1,000 people have been injured, including civilians and police officers. Tragic stories are emerging, like the wife of a former prime minister who suffered severe burns when her home was set on fire. In western Nepal, 5 teenagers were killed when security forces opened fire on inmates escaping a juvenile correctional facility. These losses have only deepened public grief and reinforced the sense that the nation is at a dangerous crossroads. So what do protesters actually want? Their demands go far beyond restoring social media. They're calling for mass resignations, new elections, and a government that is free from entrenched party politics. In their own words, they want leaders chosen for competence and integrity, not connections or corruption. The resignation of the prime minister has created a leadership vacuum, but protesters say this is an opportunity to rebuild Nepal's political system on stronger, fairer foundations. Reactions among ordinary Nepalis are mixed. Some see this as a long overdue turning point, believing the protests could be the start of genuine reform. Others are horrified by the destruction of national landmarks and the loss of life. For many, there's both hope and fear. Hope that this uprising will force leaders to take corruption seriously, and fear that violence could spiral out of control. One thing is clear. People across the country are desperate for change, and they don't want to see a return to business as usual. For the international community, including Americans, this situation is worth paying attention to. Nepal sits between two global powers, India and China, and instability there has ripple effects far beyond its borders. But at its core, this story isn't about geopolitics. It's about young people demanding dignity, fairness, and a voice in their future. It's about a generation that refuses to accept corruption as normal and is willing to risk everything to demand something better. As of now, the streets of Kathmandu are quieter under curfew, but the future is anything but settled. Will Nepal's leaders rise to the challenge, or will the cycle of corruption and disillusionment continue? And will Gen Z's call for change be remembered as the spark of a new era, or just another chapter of unrest in a fragile democracy? One thing is certain: the world is watching, and so are millions of young Nepalis who believe their fight has only just begun.